Whether or not this is really the final reckoning for this series, here is another excuse for me to show off one of my favorite intros that I have ever done.
Dun 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 dun.
Almost there.
Dun 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 dun
Almost.
dun 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 dun.
Ha 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 ha! Yes, mission accomplished. Hey! Oh shit!
What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Also, happy Memorial Day for all of my fellow American viewers out there celebrating today on this beautiful day, clearly with myself taking advantage of the nice weather, walking around my backyard as I am doing this video. So, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. This film is the 8th installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, and it follows IMF agent Ethan Hunt and his team uniting to fight against the rogue AI known as the Entity from unleashing global destruction against humanity. And going into this movie, I was highly anticipating it. I am a big fan of the Mission Impossible film series. I've never seen any episode of the original TV show that this thing is based on, but in terms of just all the movies, me having just spent the last 2 weeks leading up to this film's release, watching them to prepare for this supposed final installment, it became clear to me and cemented in my mind that this is one of my favorite film franchises ever. To quickly run down my thoughts on the film series, the first film, the original from 1996, I think it is a good movie. The second one, easily the worst, even if there's some niche things that some people find appealing. The third film, I think, is when the series began a streak of getting better and better. The fourth film, Ghost Protocol, that was when a lot of the stunts started getting emphasized more, all the set pieces. And then with those first 4 movies, they were all directed by different people. And starting with the 5th film, Rogue Nation, that is when they started being helmed by the same person behind the camera as director, Christopher McQuarrie. Rogue Nation, then Fallout is the 6th film. That is my personal favorite of the series. I think that is peak MI, or Mission Impossible. And then the previous film we got a couple years ago, Dead Reckoning Part 1, I liked a lot as well. I love that movie. And this film that we now have, The Final Reckoning, technically it was supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 2, but multiple factors changed that with initially these movies, the last 2 movies, both Dead Reckoning films, being planned to be done back to back, but then a bunch of factors prevented that, one being the pandemic, and then around the time the last film got released, the writers and actors strikes were happening, so this second part was not happening right away. And then in retrospect, after Dead Reckoning Part 1's release, Part 1 was dropped from the title. If you're watching it on digital or streaming, clearly, as I showed off with my intro, I have all of these movies on Blu-ray, so clearly it still says Part 1 on my copy. But in any sense, with The Final Reckoning, I mean, with all of that coming together and me showing off how I really do love this franchise, and also specifically one Tom Cruise, actor, producer, really at the center of all this, it really made me see like how this was all going to be tied together, how it was going to follow up the previous film, and just all of this to make for an experience that has been brought time and time again by Cruise, whether it is within this franchise as Ethan Hunt or outside of it. Like in recent memory, 3 years ago, he brought me my favorite movie of 2022, Top Gun Maverick. And so I guess without further ado, let me just get into speaking more about Cruise here. Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, the mainstay lead star of the franchise. Now having done this character in 8 movies, he really shows why he is the last movie star. He is one of the last movie stars that we have, and his prowess is always there. What with, you know, him being a good actor in his own right, I think, and, you know, a lot of the emotion that he brings with this movie in particular, when the stakes could not have been higher, and also, of course, the physicality and just him being crazy and doing all of his own stunts as really spotlighted here. He is, I think he's 62. Yeah, he's 62 years old. 62, 63, whatever. I'll correct myself here afterward in editing. But, you know, in his early 60s, he is really, really going for it. He is just really putting himself at risk, his life on the line, just for our own entertainment. And, you know, he really deserves all of the flowers and all the praise he has done. Also, just getting us to go see this as a movie theater experience, as all these movies were meant to be seen on the big screen. So yeah, Cruise, he really is phenomenal in just about everything he does with bringing us silver screen entertainment. And then we have a huge supporting cast as well coming here, whether we have returning or new players. Ving Rhames as Luther. Aside from Cruise's Ethan Hunt, he has been a mainstay in this franchise too. He's been in every single movie leading up to this one, including this one. And, you know, he in a lot of ways is the heart of the series. I mean, in a few of the movies, I think in Fallout in particular, he had like a really big heart-to-heart moment, and just a lot of other things in between. He's the hacker of the group, but I think he really does show what the series is all about. And these guys, you know, these guys being spies, I mean, these are all action spy films, but yeah, Rhames, for what he did here, he really had an impactful moment with a specific scene in this film. That's all I'll say right there. Simon Pegg also comes back as Benji. He's been a mainstay in the series since the third film, in a supporting role there, but he really got upgraded as these movies have gone on, bringing a lot of the humor and also some heart as well too, because he feels like he's an everyman, like put in with the IMF team as assembled by Hunt. Also coming back here from the previous film is Haley Atwell as Grace, a really expert thief / pickpocket here. And, you know, I liked her presence when she was brought in with the last one, adding to the team here. You know, she continues to do well there. Pom Klementieff returns from the previous film too as the initial villainous character, working as like the lead henchwoman with the main character, or the main villain I should say, excuse me. And now she has switched sides basically, and is like a part of the muscle of the group here. And, you know, I love her as Mantis in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and here she shows off more of her physicality and what she does, even a couple emotional moments here too, given what her character has gone through in this arc from these two movies together. And we also have Shea Wiggum and Greg Tarzan Davis returning from the previous film too. They were the two, I believe, CIA agents who were chasing after Hunt all throughout Dead Reckoning. And then Davis in particular has a lot more to do in this film, because he is now a part of the IMF team trying to help this all come together. And that he adds on to the muscle of the group as well too. And then so many other people here from the past films are in this movie in big or small roles. Angela Bassett in particular, she was the director of the CIA in the sixth film Fallout, but now is the president of the United States. And then there's the entourage of people that she's with when the movie cuts back and forth between herself and Hunt and company, and so many other people to mention that, you know, I can't really fit it all here too. I mean, I'm already rambling on for this film, but in any sense, you know, the ensemble here, as always, is exceptional, with Cruise, of course, Tom Cruise being the one who is holding it all together and leading it in so many ways. So then we get into the writing. Like I said, Christopher McQuarrie, he directs this film as he's done with the previous three entries. He's also one of the co-writers here, and this technically is Dead Reckoning Part 2. And with this film, it has to do a lot to follow up what was done in the previous movie. And it also, being touted as the final entry in the Mission Impossible franchise, he and everyone else involved with the filmmaking here have a lot to say and do with all the execution here. And with how much of a behemoth of this movie is in terms of, one, its running time, and then also what it has to do with the plot, with the stakes never being higher, it makes the first hour of this movie extra expository. There is extensive exposition in this film in terms of setting up the movie, setting up the narrative and what we're seeing. Of course, if you saw all the previous movies, or at least the previous film Dead Reckoning, you know that, the AI, known as the Entity, is the big bad here, on top of the human bad guy, who I'll mention in a bit. There's a lot of effort to really tie everything together, and with how heavy this movie is in terms of the dialogue and just explaining a lot of things, going over the logic and not logic or whatever that the IMF team and just the world over have to do, it is a lot. It is a lot, and I can tell that with all of this crammed together, it would be off-putting for those who haven't seen all the movies at this point, up until this point, or even just trying to get everything all across, and that is what's adding to the running time of this movie. It is 2 hours, 49 minutes. I mean, that is by far the longest of all these Mission Impossible movies. And for myself, who has seen for the last couple weeks, who has gone through all these movies and seeing a bunch of the Easter eggs, callbacks, and like everything that's attempted to be tied together, in particular the first, third, and previous movie, the seventh film, Dead Reckoning, all these movies are of great prevalence here, whether they're talking about certain details or even certain characters coming back, which I thought was cool. Like, all of that for me as a fan, that was just so great to see, and it's rewarding to see all that paid off. But if you're someone who doesn't remember the whole series, or even just went back and only watched Dead Reckoning before this one, it is a lot. And it does come off as just, being unwieldy in that regard. But I do think after a certain point, it does come together, and it sets off a lot of things in motion to where the tone is very serious. I mean, this is the most serious the Mission Impossible movies have been, I think, until this point now, too. And that goes into tying in with the dialogue and, meeting other characters. Like, there's so many people, as I mentioned, that's in this cast that I haven't mentioned. Hannah Waddingham, for one thing. Waddingham has had quite a good weekend this weekend, actually, because I forgot to mention in my previous review for the live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch, she was the voice of, like, the head alien councilwoman, and here she plays a captain on a ship, and the main villain here, the human villain, I should say, Gabriel, played by Esai Morales, I thought he was fine here, like he did in the previous film. Here, he's a lot more of the mustache-twirling villain who Hunt and others are trying to go after because he is connected with the Entity and he wants to help unleash all this destruction, all that there. He's not the worst villain in the Mission Impossible franchise, but he's far from the best. I mean, that honor goes to the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman for being the villain of the third film. But again, yeah, with all the writing and stuff tied together, eventually it does have everything set underway, and we get the action and we get what these movies do best. And with each successive entry, especially after McQuarrie started taking over these movies as director, they really do push the boundaries in like what is done to make the impossible possible. And all of the potent possibilities here, also executed by Tom Cruise, is what makes this film stand out and really is quite a thrilling excursion. The action here is really top tier, some of the best action you'll see in any movie with modern filmmaking. The two sequences in particular that have been singled out for this praise are the underwater/submarine sequence where a specific item is trying to be retrieved from deep underwater, and Cruise really going for it in the freezing temps and just putting his body on the line. Also putting his body on the line for the big action sequence at the end with the biplane chase. And, that has been emphasized with the marketing of this movie, the posters. My thumbnail for this video is showing that off too. I mean, I was truly enthralled by what I saw in both of those sequences. I saw this movie in Dolby Cinema at an AMC theater, and the closest theater that had that format for me, it was only showing this this movie this way at 9:15 at night, if you count my ticket stub earlier. And it's worth it, though, to see this thing in a premium format. The movie also has stuff that was filmed for IMAX as well, too. Luckily, you you have time to see this movie in IMAX in the next couple weeks, as this movie has taken up those slots. But, you know, seeing it with the Dolby sound that I saw it in, I mean, the sound really hits, especially in that submarine sequence where, like, you feel it on the seats, like the feedback from the audio and all this other stuff. Even at times with the biplane sequence, mostly that is visual though, because you're seeing Tom Cruise hang on for dear life, flying a plane, then jumping to another plane. It's like, oh my God, like these are two of the best moments I've seen in any movie so far this year. And other technical elements too, along with how Macquarie really well handles the directing here, the cinematography. The editing, I'll admit, initially going into how a bit messy that the first hour is. Some of the choreography, like, I felt like it was sped up or just cut a little too quick together. But then when the main action hits with those aforementioned sequences later on, I mean, it's just mwah, chef's kiss. It is helmed to perfection, and seeing it all come together, those two action sequences are really worth the price of admission alone. And you know, the music, the Mission Impossible theme, as iconic as it is, it's always here with the motifs and just racking up the tension, how it's all paced together. As I mentioned, this movie is bordering on 3 hours. Even with it being as long as it is, I was never bored at any moment. I was feeling how long the movie was, but with certain movies, you are aware of how long it is running for, but it's not necessarily a problem if you're just so into it. And again, with myself being such a lover of this franchise, you know, I was just really into it, seeing what was gonna happen next, having all my intrigue, everything. But it all coming together that way, it had me just really see, like, you know, it's not just how this franchise is being tied together, it's also showing, like, you know, that there is a sense of what the movie's trying to go for in the team being together, really emphasizing how even if it's Ethan Hunt trying to do it all, he is, you know, relying on his team, and also having a big anti-AI message in here. I mean, with the entity being at the forefront and everything. I mean, you know, says a lot for what's going on for today, but even in a fictional context like with these movies, I think that makes this film, like, you know, really try to give you an experience that you have to see in the theater. Again, with all the technical elements that this movie is going for, the sound, as I mentioned, with seeing this thing in a Dolby cinema, the visual effects, the subtleties involved there, and aiding Tom Cruise with some of what he was doing in those two big action sequences. The previous film, Dead Reckoning, was the first time any of these movies was nominated for an Academy Award. I got 2 Oscar noms for Best Sound and Best Visual Effects, I believe. And, you know, hopefully this thing will get recognition for that as well too. And, you know, with how huge this movie is literally in terms of budget, it was apparently made for $400 million, which is one of the most expensive movies ever made. The price ballooning up that way, of course, given what I mentioned in the pandemic and strikes occurring before this movie. But in any sense, for as long as I've been rambling on and on and on about this movie, I mean, you know, even with literally having just finished seeing this movie this morning, as I said, I saw this movie at 9:15 last night. The movie finished, the end credits started at 12:25 a.m. this morning. I mean, it was an experience regardless, and it was just something that I quite enjoyed. I really enjoyed the final reckoning. Is it really the final reckoning? We'll have to see. Again, I'm not going to spoil what happens by the end here, but, you know, I saw this movie with my dad last night, and we both agreed about how those two sequences with the submarine and biplane chase being played out here are worth having seen this movie alone. And trying to compare this to the rest of the franchise, well, I'll say that, you know, Fallout is still my favorite. And I think Rogue Nation and Dead Reckoning are behind that film. And I guess I would say maybe this is, just upon first reaction, this is my least favorite of the Macquarie directed movies, but it's still a strong film in any sense. And, you know, compared to a lot of other action movies or big budget tentpoles that we get nowadays, this really does stand out. And it's due to everything coming together for what I've said in rambling on for nearly 20 minutes now. But I think that's what has me still think that with this entry being a successful send-off to one of my favorite film franchises. If this really is the last one, then it's a more than solid way to go out on, and it's something that I definitely recommend seeing. Whether or not you've seen the previous Mission Impossible movies, I think you can get some enjoyment out of this just from the pure spectacle alone. And that is something that really makes us go through and want to feel the love and magic of the movies in any sense here. So yeah, with all that being said, all that's left for me to do is to give my final verdict for this film. My final verdict for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.